There is something profound about the way human beings are drawn to one another, a magnetic pull that defies logic yet governs so much of our behavior. Nowhere is this more evident than in the mysterious dynamics of attachment. Among these, the avoidant partner, a figure both distant and intriguing, seems to live in perpetual tension, seeking freedom yet craving connection. And here's the paradox. There exists a type of partner, rare and extraordinary, who can pierce through that armor of avoidance with an almost mystical ease. This is not magic. It's the product of qualities so potent, so uniquely calibrated to human nature, that they ignite a fascination avoidance can't resist. What's astonishing is how universal these principles are, yet so often overlooked in the frantic search for love and understanding. Today we'll unravel this enigma, not just to satisfy curiosity, but to offer a roadmap that transforms relationships, strengthens character, and brings clarity to what it means to truly connect. Authenticity is not merely a virtue, it is the foundation of trust and the cornerstone of meaningful connection. When we speak of authenticity, we are not discussing the surface-level honesty of casual interactions or the polished veneer of performative openness. True authenticity emerges from a place of courage, a willingness to confront the chaos within oneself and offer it unvarnished to the world. It is the unshakable alignment between what we say, what we do, and who we truly are. For the avoidant, whose defenses are built on mistrust and a fear of vulnerability, authenticity becomes a light in the darkness, an anchor in the storm. Consider the words of Proverbs. The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. To engage with an avoidant partner is to wade into those deep waters, not with force or desperation, but with the quiet, steady presence of someone who knows who they are. Authenticity draws out what avoidance seeks to hide because it creates a safe space for truth to emerge. When you stand firm in your own identity, unshaken by rejection, unyielding to manipulation, you communicate something far more powerful than words. You embody stability. But make no mistake, authenticity is not passive. It requires active engagement with your own flaws, fears, and failures. It is a process of refinement, akin to the way gold is purified in fire. You cannot fake it. The avoidant will sense the slightest incongruence between your words and your actions. They are attuned to inauthenticity because their survival has often depended on recognizing it. This is why authenticity is so rare and so irresistible. To be authentic is to be uncommon in a world rife with pretense. Think of Christ in the Gospels, standing before those who sought to trap him with their questions. He spoke with clarity, conviction, and unshakable integrity. He neither bent to their expectations nor masked his truth to suit the crowd. His words carried weight because they were rooted in something deeper than circumstance. They were grounded in purpose, in alignment with the ultimate good. This is the model of authenticity. We are called to emulate not perfection, but congruence between our highest values and our daily actions. In practical terms, this means living with an unwavering commitment to truth, even when it is uncomfortable. It means expressing your needs and boundaries without apology, offering compassion without the expectation of reciprocation, and refusing to play the games avoidance often invites. The avoidant partner, accustomed to walls and detachment, cannot help but take notice of someone who is grounded, consistent, and genuine. The beauty of authenticity is that it liberates not just you, but those around you. By showing up as your true self, you grant others permission to lower their defenses. For the avoidant, this can be transformative. It is not your job to fix them, but your authenticity may inspire them to confront the parts of themselves they've long hidden away. In this way, you become a catalyst for healing, not through coercion or strategy, but simply by being wholly and unapologetically yourself. Emotional stability is not merely the absence of chaos. It is the quiet, unwavering strength that calms the storms within and around us. It is a rare and precious quality forged through discipline, self-awareness, and faith in something greater than oneself. For those whose hearts are guarded by avoidance, stability becomes a sanctuary, a place where fear begins to dissolve and trust can take root. The power of emotional stability lies not in dramatic displays or forceful persuasion, but in its quiet persistence, its ability to endure and remain steadfast in the face of uncertainty. The book of Psalms declares, "He will not let your foot slip, who watches over you will not slumber." Consider the depth of that promise, an assurance of stability even in the most precarious moments of life. Emotional stability mirrors this divine constancy. It does not waver under pressure, nor does it seek refuge in fleeting comforts or reactive outbursts. Instead, it stands firm, like a tree planted by streams of water, deeply rooted and unshaken by the winds of circumstance. In the realm of relationships, stability is magnetic because it offers what so many lack, a sense of safety and predictability. For the avoidant who often views closeness as a threat, stability signals that they are not entering a battlefield but a sanctuary. It does not mean that you will not face challenges or moments of tension. On the contrary, stability thrives in adversity, revealing its strength by how it endures hardship without being consumed by it. To cultivate emotional stability, you must first confront the chaos within your own heart. There is no stability without self-mastery, no peace without a battle fought and won against the impulses that seek to destabilize you. It requires humility, the willingness to acknowledge your fears, confront your weaknesses, and accept your limitations without letting them define you. And it demands courage, the resolve to stand firm in your values and remain composed, even when your patience is tested or your vulnerabilities are exposed. This is not a solitary endeavor. Stability is nurtured through a connection to the eternal, the timeless principles that ground us when life feels unmoored. Prayer, reflection, and a commitment to higher truths provide the foundation upon which emotional stability is built. When you live in alignment with these principles, you become a source of strength not only for yourself, but for those around you. You become a living testament to the possibility of order in a chaotic world. For the avoidant partner, this stability is a lifeline. It reassures them that they are not walking on shifting sands, but on solid ground. It is not your words that convey this truth. It is your actions, your consistency, your composure in conflict, and your ability to hold space for both their fears and their hopes. Emotional stability invites them to lay down their defenses, not because they are forced to, but because they finally feel secure enough to do so. In this sense, emotional stability is not just a personal virtue, it is a gift you offer to the world. It creates an atmosphere where healing becomes possible, where trust can flourish, and where love authentic, unguarded, and transformative can take root. Self-respect is not a luxury. It is a necessity, a prerequisite for meaningful relationships and a cornerstone of human dignity. It is the silent declaration that your worth is not contingent on the approval of others, nor is it diminished by their rejection. Self-respect is the firm boundary that defines who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not tolerate. And it is this unyielding clarity, this unshakable sense of self, that captivates even the most distant of hearts, including those inclined to avoid attachment. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" This is the essence of self-respect, the recognition that you are sacred, valuable, and worthy of honor. It is not arrogance or pride, but a humble acknowledgement of your intrinsic worth, a worth that is neither granted by others nor diminished by their indifference. When you carry yourself with this awareness, you emanate a quiet confidence that is impossible to ignore. But self-respect is not passive. It demands vigilance, the courage to enforce boundaries, and the discipline to live in alignment with your highest values. It is not enough to believe in your worth. You must act in accordance with it. This means saying no when no is required, walking away from situations that compromise your integrity, and refusing to shrink yourself to fit the expectations of others. It is a form of strength that is both fierce and gentle, resolute yet gracious. For the avoidant, whose defenses are often born of fear and mistrust, self-respect is a beacon. It signals that you will not chase, manipulate, or cling, but neither will you disappear or diminish yourself to gain their approval. It communicates that your value is not up for negotiation, and this creates a paradoxical effect. The more you respect yourself, the more compelling you become. You are not seeking to control or demand. You are simply standing firm in your truth, and that steadiness is magnetic. Self-respect is also deeply practical. It protects you from the pitfalls of resentment, insecurity, and neediness. When you respect yourself, you are less likely to tolerate disrespect from others, and this sets the tone for healthier, more balanced interactions. You become a person of integrity, someone who can be trusted because you first trust yourself. And this trust extends outward, inviting others into a space of mutual respect and understanding. This does not mean you are invulnerable or unaffected by the actions of others. Self-respect does not shield you from pain, but it does give you the strength to endure it without compromising your dignity. It allows you to face rejection, not with bitterness or despair, but with the quiet assurance that your worth remains intact. This resilience, this ability to remain grounded in the face of adversity, is what sets you apart. For the avoidant who often wrestles with fears of being overwhelmed or controlled, your self-respect becomes a source of intrigue and safety. It assures them that you will not encroach upon their autonomy, but neither will you allow their fears to dictate your behavior. In this way, you become a model of balance, someone who embodies strength without aggression, vulnerability without fragility, and love without dependence. It is this equilibrium that draws them in, not as a conquest, but as an invitation to something deeper, something truer, something enduring. Emotional intelligence is not merely the ability to understand others. It is the capacity to navigate the complexities of human interaction with wisdom, grace, and integrity. It requires more than intellect or charm. It demands a profound awareness of your own emotions and the discernment to respond to the emotions of others with empathy and precision. For the avoidant, whose guarded nature often stems from a fear of being overwhelmed, emotional intelligence becomes a bridge, a way to connect without imposing, to understand without encroaching. The Proverbs tell us a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense. Emotional intelligence operates in this space of patience and perspective. It tempers the impulse to react with the wisdom to respond. It sees beyond the surface of anger, fear, or detachment to the unspoken needs and vulnerabilities beneath. This is not an act of manipulation, but of deep respect for the complexity of the human heart. It is the recognition that every defensive wall hides a story, and every sharp word is often a cry for understanding. But emotional intelligence is not a tool to be wielded selectively. It is a way of being. It starts with the courage to face your own emotional landscape, to confront your fears, heal your wounds, and master your impulses. Only then can you approach others with the clarity and compassion that emotional intelligence requires. It is not enough to know what someone feels. You must also understand why they feel it and how your own actions might influence their response. This is the work of humility and introspection, and it is not for the faint of heart. For the avoidant partner, emotional intelligence is disarming. It conveys that you see them not just their defenses or their distance, but the humanity behind their hesitation. It allows you to meet them where they are without judgment or pressure, and to respond in a way that respects their boundaries while still expressing your truth. This balance is rare, and it is precisely this rarity that makes it so compelling. It communicates safety, a safe harbor in the turbulent seas of uncertainty and mistrust. Yet, emotional intelligence is not about erasing tension or avoiding conflict. On the contrary, it thrives in the midst of difficulty, transforming disagreements into opportunities for deeper connection. It seeks not to win arguments, but to understand perspectives, not to dominate, but to collaborate. This does not mean sacrificing your own needs or values. Rather, it means holding them with such clarity and conviction that you can offer the same respect to others. Emotional intelligence also teaches the power of timing. It knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to press forward and when to step back. It is not passive, but neither is it forceful. It is deliberate, a dance between assertion and restraint. For the avoidant, this measured approach is deeply reassuring. It shows that you are not seeking to control or demand, but to build a relationship rooted in mutual understanding and respect. In this way, emotional intelligence is transformative. It turns moments of distance into opportunities for closeness, moments of tension into avenues for growth. It is not a guarantee of success, but it is a foundation upon which trust can be built and love can flourish. It speaks a language the avoidant can hear, not because it forces them to listen, but because it resonates with the truth they may have forgotten. That connection, when offered freely and wisely, is not a threat, but a gift. Vulnerability and strength are not opposites. They are two sides of the same coin, each enhancing the other in a way that creates profound human connection. To lead with vulnerability is to show the courage of a heart laid bare, to risk exposure in the name of authenticity, and to embrace the discomfort of uncertainty. Yet vulnerability without strength is incomplete. It is strength that provides the scaffolding, the internal fortitude that allows you to be vulnerable without losing yourself in the process. Together, they form a dynamic balance that is not only captivating but transformative. In 2 Corinthians, Paul speaks of a paradox. For when I am weak, then I am strong. This is the essence of vulnerability paired with strength. It is the acknowledgement of imperfection, of limitations, and of the inevitable pain of being human, combined with the resilience to endure and transcend those very weaknesses. Vulnerability invites connection, while strength ensures that the connection is not dependent on approval or validation from others. It is this interplay that allows relationships to flourish in depth and authenticity. For the avoidant, who often perceives vulnerability as a threat and strength as a barrier, this pairing becomes a revelation. It defies their expectations, presenting vulnerability not as a plea for validation, but as an act of courage and strength, not as dominance, but as a source of safety. When you lead with vulnerability and strength in tandem, you communicate a profound message. I am open to you, but I am not dependent on you. I care deeply, but I am not defined by your response. This balance is not only rare, but also deeply compelling. To embody this balance, you must first understand that vulnerability is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. It takes immense courage to share your fears, your failures, and your dreams without the assurance of acceptance. Yet it is precisely this willingness to risk rejection that fosters genuine intimacy. Strength, on the other hand, is not about control or dominance. It is about maintaining your integrity and composure, even in the face of disappointment or pain. It is the ability to stand firm in your values while remaining open to the perspectives of others. In practice, leading with vulnerability and strength means owning your story, the victories and the defeats, and sharing it with honesty and humility. It means expressing your needs and desires without apology, not to demand but to invite understanding. And it means holding space for the emotions of others without sacrificing your own emotional health. This is not an easy path. It requires constant self-reflection, emotional discipline, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. But it is through this process that you cultivate the depth of character that draws others toward you. For the avoidant partner, this approach is disarming. It shows them that vulnerability does not equate to fragility and that strength does not require emotional distance. It invites them to explore their own capacity for connection, not through force or pressure, but through the quiet, persistent presence of someone who embodies both courage and compassion. In this way, vulnerability and strength become a transformative force, not only for your relationships, but also for your own personal growth. They remind you that true connection is not about perfection, but about showing up wholly and authentically and allowing yourself to be seen. Patience is not merely the act of waiting, it is the deliberate practice of enduring with purpose, of trusting in a process that unfolds over time, and of holding firm in the face of uncertainty. It is a virtue rooted in faith, faith in yourself, in others, and in the possibility of growth and change. For those who navigate the intricate dynamics of relationships with avoidant partners, patience becomes not just a necessity, but a transformative force. It is the quiet power that dissolves fear, the steady rhythm that counters chaos, and the unyielding presence that invites trust. Ecclesiastes reminds us there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Patience understands this truth intimately. It acknowledges that growth cannot be rushed, that trust cannot be demanded, and that healing cannot be forced. To be patient is to honor the pace of another's journey without sacrificing your own. It is the ability to hold space for both the other person's hesitations and your own aspirations, recognizing that meaningful connections require time to take root. Patience, however, is not passive. It is not the resignation of waiting idly for change, but the active choice to engage with grace and intention. It requires strength to remain steadfast in the face of frustration, wisdom to discern when to act and when to refrain, and humility to accept that some things are beyond your control. This is not an easy task, especially when faced with the guarded nature of an avoidant partner, but it is through this practice that patience reveals its power. For the avoidant, patience is a gift that cannot be overstated. It communicates, without words, that you are not here to push, to pry, or to demand. Instead, it shows that you are willing to walk alongside them, respecting their boundaries while remaining true to your own. It is a quiet assurance that you will not abandon them in their moments of retreat, but neither will you lose yourself in the process of waiting. This balance of steadfastness without dependency, of presence without pressure, is both rare and deeply reassuring. To embody patience is to embrace the discomfort of uncertainty without succumbing to it. It means tolerating the ambiguity of progress that is slow and uneven, of steps forward that are followed by steps back. It requires a profound trust in the value of persistence, a belief that the seeds of connection and understanding, once planted, will eventually bear fruit. This trust is not naive, but grounded in the knowledge that true transformation takes time. Patience also teaches you about yourself. It reveals the places where your own fears and insecurities lurk, pushing you to confront them with honesty and courage. It challenges you to refine your character, to cultivate resilience, and to deepen your capacity for empathy. In this way, patience is not just a gift you offer to others, it is a gift you give to yourself, a path toward growth and self-discovery. For the avoidant, this patient presence becomes a sanctuary. It provides the stability they crave but often fear, the assurance that connection does not have to come at the cost of their autonomy. It invites them to step out from behind their defenses, not because they are forced to, but because they feel safe enough to choose it. In this space of patience, both individuals have the opportunity to grow not in isolation, but in tandem, building a connection that is not only enduring, but transformative.